Zolotaya Korona is a Russian payment system, a local analog of the SWIFT system, which allowed transferring money from Russia to 16 countries, including Turkey, Serbia and Israel. Since MasterCard and Visa stopped serving international payments of Russian cards a year ago, and 13 major consumer banks have already been disconnected from the SWIFT system, Russian financial institutions have had to look for workarounds. Now one of them has self-destructed. Zolotaya Korona does not serve international transfers. Compared to a year ago, transactions are getting slower and more expensive. However, according to experts, it is too early to talk about a complete freeze of the Russian banking system.
Modern banking and in general the financial system is quite decentralized and has various alternative payment options. Yes, it will be longer, it will be more expensive, but the payments will keep coming. You know, the international financial system did not live by SWIFT alone, and until they are introducing and someone is punished by secondary sanctions, when some banks in developed countries and countries of the G20 help Russians to do finance operations, until then in general banks and various other financial organizations and structures will turn a blind eye to it.
The US Treasury has launched an audit of Raiffeisenbank because of its activities in Russia. Among other things, the bank on the official website announces the issuance of preferential loans to the Russian military. The soft loans themselves are a time bomb for the Russian economy. To keep it from falling in the first months of a full-scale war and to achieve positive indicators, banks massively issued subsidized loans. As a result, the figures turned out to be beautiful. The IMF even recorded a slight increase in Russia's GDP, but according to experts, this data cannot be trusted.
The management of the IMF and the World Bank will not tell you about this, but they have no idea about the current volumes of Russia's exports and imports. Why? Because by the second quarter of 2022, the Russian authorities stopped reporting it. Everything that the IMF and the World Bank receive is fictitious numbers. Putin's economic survival is due to only two reasons. The first is propaganda. He wakes up in the morning, takes some GDP figures and declares it. And the IMF and the World Bank consider it real and confirm it. It literally means asking Putin, what kind of Russia do you want to represent? Jeffrey Sonnenfeld, professor at the Yale School of Management, in an interview with Deutsche Welle.
In 2022, half of all mortgage and retail loans in Russia were issued on favorable terms, often without collateral and the most needy segments of the population. At the same time, the average loan term is 24 years and the total debt load is more than 27 trillion rubles. Financial experts call this situation in one word – a bubble. Sooner or later, the population, and these are the poorest Russians, will not be able to cover their debts, and as a result, the banks will go bankrupt and the financial system will be on the verge of collapse. The fact that Russia has painted itself into a corner is also evidenced by the fact that big business is increasingly complaining about the banal lack of resources.
If we do not reorganize, there will be no foreign investors, and if there are no foreign investors, there will be no money in the country. There are already serious problems with money in the country, so they started shaking business like sticky. There will be no money next year. We will need foreign investors. If we change the rules of the game every quarter, depending on some problems, then no one will believe us, neither Russian nor foreign entrepreneurs. Oleg Deripaska, Russian oligarch, during the Krasnoyarsk Economic Forum.
Deripaska himself, as well as dozens of other members of Putin's elite, have been sanctioned by the United States, United Kingdom, the European Union and Ukraine for Russia's full-scale aggression against Ukraine. Kyiv also imposed sanctions against all Russian financial institutions for 50 years. Restrictions prohibit the conclusion of transactions, operations with assets, investments. They also cancel and prohibit further registration of Russian payment systems on the territory of Ukraine. Kyiv hopes that allied countries will accept similar restrictions. Reported by Serhiy Kulas, Danilo Kobza, UATV News.